Morning tour of the dig, and I've got to the dig site really early. You might have seen my early walk through Jerusalem this morning and the Western Wall, and how beautiful it is when it's all lit up at night, and how many people were there coming out for their early morning prayers. We have the incredible privilege being here this early that there's no other tourists, there's no one else around. I'm here early, so the dig doesn't start for a few minutes. So I'm going to give you a little tour of the southern steps and some of the areas around there. So come along with me as we join in and we have a little bit of a look. That's the entrance to where we're digging. I was digging over under that green canopy yesterday, and that's the back side of the building, the house, the Byzantine house that I'm working in. You can have a look up the top. There is the Mount of Olives, and if we swing round, can't get a really good view of it, but just straight across that road is the city of David. I'll do a little bit more of some of the sites later on today for you, but let's just quickly go up and have a look at the main spot here. Now these are steps that are reconstructed, and you can see even that there's a staggered step sort of approach, which is reconstructed on the original. I'll take you and show you some of the original steps in just a minute. And there we have it. Hopefully you can see it. The triple gate. Now this was the gate that the pilgrims would go in when they were on coming up to Jerusalem on pilgrimage, Feast of Pentecost, other pilgrimages like that. So this is one of the potential locations of the day of Pentecost. And you can see here, very large area. As we go down through there, it's dotted with Mikveh, which is ritual baths, which they would have used for the baptismal purposes. So let's go up and have a look. This has actually all been blocked in over the years, but this is where the original was. And right here, we see the gatepost. You can see the ornate nature of that's the left-hand side of the gate as people would come in. So you can see massive gate, 3 arches, and a lot of the structures have since been removed, but the arches are from the original. And the thing I love is, let's have a look at the ground here. This is the original pavement that the pilgrims would have walked in before they were coming into the temple. So I think Jesus, the apostles, whenever they were coming into the temple, they would be walking on these footsteps, on these stones. So this is the one place in Jerusalem that I can absolutely guarantee you that you are walking in the footsteps of Jesus. Pretty amazing stuff. As we continue on down here through the Southern Archaeological Park, it's called, you see here more examples of the Herodian stones. These are they're higher than me, so they're about 2 meters high. Incredible structures. The later smaller stones are reconstructions to keep the wall intact over a period of time. The wall that we're coming up to over here is built by Solomon the Magnificent, or Solomon the Great, and he built this wall when, I think about the 16th, 17th century, that this became controlled by Islamic groups or the Ottoman Empire. And one of the things that's very interesting about this site is we had the double gate, which is the exit. And if we look up really closely, and we can see that lintel is a Ottoman lintel. But if we go up a little bit higher, we can see the actual remnants of the double gate, and there's only half of it. The other 1.5 is on the other side of the gate there. So this is where they would come out and the pilgrims would make their way down. Now this is really important that you had two gates. It's really important that you had two gates, because one gate would be where you go in when you're pure and holy after you've gone through the ritual bath, and then you'd be able to go up and enter into the temple, and you'd be able to worship God because you were ritually holy and pure, which was an absolute essential. So think about people being upset when Paul was found in the temple thinking that he was a Gentile. Therefore he shouldn't have been there, and he hadn't gone through the ritual purification processes. So coming in the triple gate, through the washing, through the holiness, through the purity of that, coming out. So if you're coming in, this whole area, if you can imagine, is sort of protected, sacred. So once you've gone through the ritual baths, you don't want to encounter anybody else who's not holy, ritually pure. So this is why this makes a great location, and maybe the Pool of Siloam, we'll talk a bit about it there. I'm starting to get a little bit more inclined to thinking that the Pool of Siloam, and then it's called the Pilgrim's Way, they walk up here. So we'll have a look at that. But one of these two sites, so what do you need? You need a place large enough where Peter can preach to a crowd. This is certainly one of those places. Have a look at all the space here. And you need the ritual baths, which I'm going to show you a little bit later today. This whole area here is completely dotted with ritual baths, but also the Pool of Siloam, massive pool, big apron area, could also handle very comfortably 3,000 people being baptized, because they are being baptized in these same ritual baths on the day of Pentecost. We'll catch you later for the next part of the Southern Excavation Archaeological Parks. Day 2 of the dig has finished. I'm hot and sweaty and sitting on the steps of the Southern Temple, and we're about to have a walk through the Southern Archaeological Park and have a bit of a look. You can see sort of behind me, there's a row of steps, and these were the steps that led up to the temple, and people would come. Let me just flip this around for you. You get a bit of a better idea. You can see a huge row of steps, and you've got the entrances, which I've already shown you at the far end. So that's where the pilgrims would come. These steps, some of them are original and some of them have been reconstructed. You can see here again, you've got the different sort of size and style of steps. If we have a look, this is sort of the original bedrock that was under it. This one here is an actual original paver, and we've got several of the original pavers. This is an original paver that's broken and got the foundations. The ones I'm walking on at the moment are original, and then you've got the other ones that have that you can tell have got the nice patterns and have actually they're new and been put in here for tourists to be able to walk safely up and down the steps of the temple. So we're actually going to walk away. We're over near the exit that we talked about earlier, and we're going to make our way down through the Southern Archaeological Park, and we're going to show you a few of the features. We can see over here we have a row of columns that were adorning the entrance to the temple at that particular point. I'd never seen this until someone showed me what this was. Now, let me zoom back out a little bit for you so you can see. Now, this was found in the Byzantine period. This was off a lintel, which was an entrance to a church. Now, the Muslims came along and they didn't like it, so they smashed it up, and this was several meters long, much longer than it is currently. So this is what we call being reused. So the Muslims built this wall, they reused, that's a Herodian stone, they reused a Herodian stone. That's a stone from the Byzantine, or where the churches were built here. And this is a fascinating thing. So I don't think it's going to come up very well, but let me attempt to explain. There is a cross that is here, and the Muslims didn't like the fact that there was a cross, so they chiseled it off. But in the chiseling, they still left the indentation and chisel away where the actual cross was. We've got some floral decorations here which they left, and we're not sure what was in these two quadrants because it's a bit too badly damaged. We've got the reef. So really interesting part of early church history. Byzantine period was around about 300 to 600 AD when the churches were being built, first being built here around about 400 to 600 AD. And we go back into the southern archaeological park, and this is quite done up. There's a function that's being held here. Quite often weddings are being held. I saw some broken glass on the ground, which is evidence that a wedding has been held in this area recently because they smash a glass as part of the wedding service. They stomp on it, and quite often they all have bar mitzvahs or other functions here. I'm going to guess and say that looks like it's being set up for a wedding there. Then we look back across, we see the Muslim Solomon the Great construction of the wall. We had the different areas in front of us which are from the period of the Second Temple, and all of this was covered up and just left to ruin. And you can see they're quite significant monumental structures that were being found in this particular area. So they use all their spaces for lots of different functions. This is quite a nice space for families to be able to use. Everybody's allowed to come into this section. It's, how can I put it, it's not the religious part of the wall area, so people are welcome to come and feel free to do what they want. Now we're coming up to the corner of the western wall and the southern wall, so the southwestern corner, and there's some really interesting things. I spoke yesterday about the place of the trumpeting. So that is the place of the trumpeting up there. So the trumpeter would stand on the top, and many people think that the place of the trumpeting was also the point where Jesus was taken, because it was a public domain place, the place of the trumpeting, and this is, throw yourself off here. So this is about the appropriate height and level, going down, and then we'll go down and we'll see why we think this corner is the place of the trumpeting. And we can see the rock that I'm going to talk about there. While I'm up here, let me tell you a little bit about the actual destruction of the temple. Again, I don't know if you can get an idea or a perception about how large these stones are. This one on the corner here and that one there that's got the hole in it literally would be the length of a bus and 1.5 meters high. We're not sure exactly, but 1.5 to 2 meters deep. They're just absolutely phenomenal stones. We go up and we see a little bit of stone protruding out of there. That's an archway, and that archway was another entrance to the temple. And if we have a look down here where those people are literally walking in and out of, that was a set of shops. So we're going to have a little bit of a talk about that. The archway made its way, so a set of stairs made its way down to on top of where those people are, which was a set of shops, and continue down. Right up, give you a bit of, we'll go up and have a close look at it in a minute, but you can see the huge rocks. Now these were thrown off the Temple Mount during when the temple was destroyed. So this just goes to show how ferocious the destruction was. So there was a fire, the temple caught on fire, and the temple was full of gold and silver. So of course all that gold and silver melted and ran literally down into the foundations of the temple. the Romans, in pursuit of getting, once the fire went out, they literally tore the temple apart stone by stone to get at the melted gold and silver, which had then become solid gold and silver again once the fire had cooled down. So many interesting things that we can see from the biblical period here. We can see some remnants of some buildings. So we're going to walk down and we're going to have a look. Again, more almost subterranean buildings, and straight in front of us you might see the fragment of an archway there. So lots of archways and vaults that we use for different purposes. Now we can see here it's called the place of the trumpeting, and let's see if we can get on the screen for you. So it's just a little depiction. I would say most people would think that it was actually a shofar, but there's a different type of trumpet they've indicated there. And here we have the Hebrew inscription, and that Hebrew inscription says, to the place of the trumpeting. So, or to the house of the trumpeting, or the place, we would say in English, because it's not a house, it's a place. So that stone fell off, if we can have a look up, right up the top, and then it was found here at the bottom. And so those of you who like a good shofar, or the place of the trumpeting, this is the location of it on the southwest corner of the temple. Here's just a decorative stone that came. One of the, you would think, what's so important about that? Well, what it tells us is the interesting thing, it's all geometric designs. You go and you have a look at most things in the Roman period, they have animals, or they have gods, or they have people, or they have images on there, but always geometric or floral designs when we're thinking about it. And here we have, each one of these are thought to have been shops. So we can see in here one of the entrances to the shops. Now why this is important is because this is, think of the place of where they were the money changers and the buying and selling of sacrifices. So these are prime spots. You've got the staircase, which then goes up into the temple there, and you're able to buy your sacrifices here, you're able to change your money. So many people think that this location here was the money changers area where you would change money before you would enter the temple. They found coins here, but they find coins everywhere. But it's a good, you know, it's really likely, it's really possible. So let's, we're gonna walk past, and we're going to be challenged by some sound, but we're always challenged by sound as we enter into Jerusalem. And let's give you a little look at the destruction stones here that are, and you got some sort of idea. What I'm going to do now is, Carol loves to be on the camera, so I'm going to ask Carol to jump in front, so that just so that you can get some sort of idea or perception of the size of these stones. Carol's declaring that she's short, so she's not that good. Let's make our way up over here, and you can see the different sizes of the stones and the carvings on them and how large they are. I mean, it's just massive if you have a look at those. That one over the back there, and these were physically thrown off the top of the building. So it really is. You just think about the energy or the anger required to throw these stones up the top, and you can see that they were thrown off top, because look at the damage. This is the original paver, and I'm not sure if you can really see here, but how it's cracked and it's damaged, and you can get a really good idea from the different ups and downs that's contained in this area. So they've left this part here, but there was huge amounts of these stones found, and this was the ones they left in place to give us some sort of idea of what it would actually be like. I'm going to try and find us a mikveh, which is the correct way of saying it, rather than with my Aussie accent. I keep on slipping back into mikveh. It's mikveh, and I'm hoping yes, but they've closed it off for naughty people like me who would walk inside and do certain things. So here's one. You can see the steps going in. That was an area with water, and you would walk on one side and come in the other side. So this would have all been covered, and this whole area was literally covered in different, the plural being mikvot. Oh, here we go. This is the one. This is the one that I was looking for. So now have a look at the, hopefully that you can see that with the sunlight. But this is where, so you would come down. I don't know if it's the right or left side, but you come down, and I'm going down into the water, and I am unclean. And I am dipping myself. Let me flip it over. I am coming down, and it was all the reason why we had several steps. They have several steps here is because the water would drop, and so you needed to be able to continue on until they could get enough rain or be able to refill the water at different times. So it just continues down and continues down the steps. And so now I'm there, and I would bow down, and it says that you need to have at least your shoulders covered. So someone would have their hand on their shoulder to ensure that their shoulders were covered. But this is where we get the idea of full immersion. To make sure that you were completely pure and completely cleansed, you would actually completely immerse yourself in the water. So that's where we get the idea of full immersion from. And then, once you have been made pure and clean, you walk up the other side. Now, why do you walk up? Because when you're walking down this side, your footsteps are impure. And so if you walk in the footsteps of someone who's impure, you become impure, because it only takes a little bit to become impure. So again, there's a whole theme around that, why Jesus is washing the feet of the disciples, is because he is making them completely clean. Because there was an idea, if you walked in the footsteps of an unclean man, you would become unclean as well. So Jesus wholly and completely cleanses us. So you come down, you're unclean, you cleanse yourself, and now you walk up this side that only the pure and the holy and the clean, and now you are ready to ascend and make your way up into the temple. So clearly this mikveh here, this mikveh that we have here is clearly for the priests or the wealthy or someone to have exclusive use of this sort of idea. So I hope you've enjoyed as we've walked and shared a few of the stories and some of the biblical things. So if we just review, steps, one really strong location for the possibility of the day of Pentecost. We've got these shops that are right in front of us now. That's a really good location for the money changers tables. And we've got the Mikveh, which is a really good potential for where people were being baptized. But we're going to talk more about that down at the Pool of Siloam. And I haven't taken you around, but there's literally dozens in this area of mikvehs, or mikvehot. Sorry, mikvot is the plural, mikveh is the singular, and mikvot, there were dozens of them in this area. So to accommodate the thousands and thousands of pilgrims that would come to this particular region. Okay, we will see you tomorrow, day 3.